Hello, everyone. My name is Tracy Fulton. I'm the founder of Moving Groove Yoga, a live jazz and yoga initiative that has been presented in partnership with the National Jazz Museum in Harlem for over 4 years. On behalf of the entire museum family, I wanted to thank you all for joining us tonight to celebrate International Jazz Day 2021. Jazz has never known borders, always showing up in unexpected places at unexpected times. This year's International Jazz Day celebration, featuring musicians from Laos, a country we might not immediately associate with jazz, is entitled Roots and Routes. Like a tree with its complex matrix of far-reaching roots, jazz remains grounded in its heritage even as it grows and evolves. But jazz has also taken many routes in its travels to every corner of the globe, building bridges between cultures and forging new paths on its way. Jazz, ever since the beginning, has refused to be contained, restrained, or even defined. Like many great art forms, jazz was born of contradiction, of an unfree people and a supposedly free land. The music as we know it today originated in the experience of enslaved Africans in late 19th century New Orleans, melding music traditions from West Africa and the American South, from the Caribbean, from ragtime and brass bands, and the works of farmhands. It was joy and resistance in the face of hardship and oppression. It simmered in the South until it roared in with the 20s, unstill, expanding across America, Paris and London, Soviet Union, and beyond. Jazz officially landed in Laos when Duke Ellington visited Vientiane in 1972, in the midst of the Vietnam War. Laos at the time was a target of the United States secret war, a covert CIA operation that would turn Laos into the most bombed country per capita on Earth. But to paraphrase Wynton Marsalis, sometimes a thing and the opposite of a thing are true at the same time. The Secret War was just that. The United States so admittedly denied its existence that as far as many were concerned, it never happened. But anyone alive in Laos could tell you that it certainly took place. All the attendant psychological and physical damage of the war with it. And still, Ellington traveled there. He played in the midst of pain and violence, both of which jazz was already very well acquainted with. But, as I am sure our musicians can attest to, today, the joy of the music survived the storms of detonations. We humans have this incredible ability to comprehend the nonlinear, to find structure in the senselessness, to accept the perplexing, to feel tens of emotions at once and experience beauty in the throes of adversity. But it's not just that we have the ability to know these contradictions. We need them if we want to even begin to find a vocabulary that can speak to the full range of human experience. So if jazz is to be a method of communication across cultures and generations, contradiction must be at its heart as much as it is at the heart of humanity. Both demanding and freeing to play, jazz recognizes that life does not happen on lines of a page, and as much as we try, it is never fully be transcribed. While syncopation takes us to the spaces between, improvisation takes us beyond. Each piece played is, of course, very personal, rarely performed the same way twice. Soloists simultaneously honor history and claim the music as their own, bringing it to a place both intimately known and completely new. Yet, when musicians perform with a band or in front of an audience, the music becomes a conversation, a give and take, a route to community and deeper comprehension. But despite, or perhaps because of, its ability to perform transcendent communication, jazz has never been solely about bringing people together. Its ability to get at raw truths, to call out and actively oppose hatred and discrimination means that jazz has never gone unchallenged. In its early days, it was seen as risque, provocative, and in some circles even dangerous, which is what made it all the more appealing to the youth of the time and what makes it all more relevant today. Throughout its history, jazz has been the soundtrack to scores of social movements, but they are not a thing of the past. Now more than ever, as our country undertakes a much-needed reckoning with racism, the history of jazz reminds us that positive transformation begins with disruption and determination. And this is indeed only a beginning, for honesty is never silent and change is never static. Rarely is it easy, but thankfully, jazz has never been the type to sit quietly and ask permission before speaking. This brings us to tonight's event, in case you're wondering what we're doing here. Today's unique convergence of the National Jazz Museum in Harlem, Legacies of War, and Article 22 allows each to share resources and help each other use jazz to amplify the voices working to create beauty in our complex world. Tonight's performances help make this goal a reality, connecting us, wherever it may be, with musicians from around the world. As individuals and communities, we each have the privilege and responsibility to listen, arguably the most important part of any good conversation. To listen not just tonight, but always, for jazz and its truths have a way of showing up at unexpected times and unexpected places. But what is the point of speaking about jazz when we have the chance to hear it? Without further ado,
ในวันนี้ ได้มาพบสายในวันนี้เจ้าดอกเอ๋ยเจ้าดอกเอ๋ยโอ้ละว่าเจ้าดอกลำไยหากอ้ายนั้นบ่แม่นแฟนไผก็อย่าได้ไล่ลืมน้องเจ้าแก้มละมาแก้มป่าว่าหากอ้ายอยากมาหัววิวาเอาพ่อแม่มาสู่ของน้อง วงจำปาบุพภาเมืองลาวงามดังดวงดาวสาวลาวเพิ่งใจเกิดอยู่ภายในแดนดินลานสางถ้าใดพัดพาหนีไปไกลจากบ้านเกิดเมืองนอนเขาจะเอาเจ้าเป็นเพื่อนห่วงเหงาเท่าสิ้นสีวาโอ้เจ้าดวงจำปามาลางามยิ่งมิ่งเมืองลาวเอ้ยโอ้เจ้าดวงจำปามาลางามยิ่งมิ่งเมืองลาวเอ้ยเจ้าดวงจำปามาลางามยิ่งมิ่งเมืองลาวเอ้ย
Mírame. Tengo unos ojos hermosos. En los ojos. En la nariz también tengo unos ojos hermosos. También en la boca. Mírame. Tengo unos ojos hermosos. En los ojos. En la nariz también tengo unos ojos hermosos. También en la boca. Mírame. 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 No llora móvil. Que tu mamá fue al campo. Y ahorita está vení pa' acá. Si nene drume cuando mamá sale, trae el coronice pa' ti, trae el toronunie pa' ti. Y si nene no drume, Chechetalunga le arranca la patica y lo come. Drume, drume, movila. Tu mamá fue la campo, movila. Calla y calla, movila. Tu mamá fue la campo, movila. Le trae pajarito pa' ti y trae coronice pa' ti. Y fue buscar lo dulce, movila, pa' que tu mañana come, movila. Drume, drume, movila. Tu mamá fue al campo, movila. Calla y calla, movila. Drume,
Hello, everyone. Sabaidi. My name is DJ Miss Joy, and I am a board member at Legacies of War. We are celebrating the International Jazz Day. We have some special contributors that I am here to speak with today. Please go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hello, Miss Joy. I'm Tracy Hyter-Suffern. I am the executive director of the National Jazz Museum in Harlem. I could not be happier to be here with you, with Legacies of War, with Brendan and Liz, who will introduce themselves. This is one of the most exciting things the Jazz Museum has ever done, and we do exciting things all the time. I am pleased to be here, and I'm looking forward to talking about what it is we're doing here together.
Oh, wonderful.
And my name is Elizabeth Suda. I am the founder of Article 22. We work in Laos with artisans transforming Vietnam War shrapnel and other scrap into jewelry that starts conversations and makes a real positive impact, clearing some of the 80 million unexploded bombs in Laos. We are all about collaboration and being the change as best we can. So I look forward to sharing more about this amazing International Jazz Day.
Wonderful.
My name is Brendan Stewart. I'm the Chief of Mission Advancement with Legacies of War. We're an organization that works in advocacy for the removal of Vietnam War era and Secret War era UXO from Laos, as well as victim assistance. I'm just really happy to be here this evening as well, partnering with both Article 22 and the National Jazz Museum.
Wonderful. It's such an honor to be hosting this really lovely portion of the event. So I'd like to ask you ladies, the binding features that connect the three of your organizations seems to be art and activism. How can energy of art and design be used for activism, encourage healing? I'd like to ask Tracy and Elizabeth how you would go about answering that.
I'll take the first swipe at that. I'll begin with something that we hear all the time, and if not, we should. We are an organization that celebrates and promotes jazz. Jazz has always been social music. It has its origins in West Africa and traveled along the slave route to New Orleans and landed in New Orleans and then has spread around the world. Jazz behaves like social movements behave. It's collaborative, and it is welcoming.
Beautifully said. Yes.
I went to Laos years ago, and I met artisans that started making soup spoons in the 1970s to quite literally rebuild their community, feed their neighbors. And, you know, history doesn't begin and end with a date in a history book. And what I realized through watching them transform these weapons of destruction into something beautiful and useful was that, you know, objects help us remember, and objects help us start conversations. And as I was a student years ago, reading history books that didn't include the story of the secret war within the conflict of the Vietnam War, I realized through that spoon that just because we can't hear something or see something, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And so the jewelry that Article 22 creates is about memory, and it's about conversation. It's about linking the past to the present to the future. And it's about empowering us through a conscious sort of commerce to come together and to do something about the future, because we can't change the fact that that war happened and the fact that there's a legacy of 80 million unexploded bombs in Laos, but we can do something to clean it up for the future. And our jewelry has become not only a tool to solve that problem, it's also become a canvas to celebrate and spread the messages of different artists and activists that we work with that have their own visions and own mission to which they inspire others to join. And more than a year ago, we started working with the National Jazz Museum in Harlem and Tracy, and that led to a conversation that led to bracelets that are now marked with messages that Tracy can share more about, of artists at the International Jazz Museum.
Beautiful. I love how art and activism brings us all together. I'd like to question back to this really important topic with Brendan. Brendan, could you share more about how our founder was able to connect with this purpose?
So yeah, so as the Secret War was happening, it happened, as the name suggested, in secret from the American public and from Congress, and was really brought to light by art, a series of drawings that were collected by Fred Brandtman from internally displaced peoples, refugees in Vientiane during the Secret War period. 30 years down the road, they found their way into the hands of our founder, Ms. Chanapa Kambongsa. And she was able to use the stories, really, that these pieces of art told in order to push her activism and really successfully advocate for attention towards a really important issue, and one that has often been written out of, well, almost always written out of the history books in the United States. And through art, really, a lot of the work that she's done has come to life.
Beautiful. This topic really hits home to me, being that I am a child of refugees from Laos. So thank you all so much for your contribution. I'd love to learn more about how the partnership came about through, music, activism, and art. And can you go a little bit into detail about the partnership?
Sure. This is a story that actually begins long before I began working with the National Jazz Museum in Harlem about 3.5 years ago. The story is actually about 5 years old, I think. I was walking through Grand Central Station in New York City, and there was a vendor's cart there that had a big sign on it that said Peace Bomb. And at the time, I was working with an organization that worked with artists to promote social justice. And this huge sign that said Peace Bomb, I literally walked by it and stopped and said to myself, I have to know what this is about. And so I went over and I spoke with the person who was sitting there. And Liz and I can't decide if it was her or if it was someone who she works with, but I had a long conversation with them about what Article 22 is, what Peace Bomb jewelry is. And I bought a piece of jewelry, but I walked away saying to the person I was speaking with, I don't know when and I don't know how, but at some point we're going to work together. And there's a lot of stuff that happened in between, but about, as Liz said, about maybe 2 years ago now, 1.5 years, 2 years ago, Liz contacted me. Well, we had been in touch, so I don't want it to appear that there'd been a lapse, but Liz asked if we would share with her artists who work with us, who are also activists, to join the Article 22 Artists and Activists campaign. The first artist who we suggested and who happily joined the campaign was one of our 2 co-artistic directors, Christian McBride, who's world-renowned band leader, bass player, artist, who was happy to join this campaign. Then we asked 2 artists who we'll also hear from, Melvis and Bam Rodriguez, who are activists as well in their own communities and in the artist community at large, if they would participate, and they were happy to do so. So this is a story, it's become a love story because we've made friends. Friends have introduced us to other friends. It's how we met Legacies of War and the wonderful people, you, Miss Joy, and Brendan, and Sarah at Legacies of War. The National Jazz Museum in Harlem prides ourselves on showing up in the most unexpected places. We consider ourselves social justice warriors in our own way. We progress that movement through music, through art, as an entry point for people who would never sit at the table together to come and sit at the table together. So it's been a happy collaboration that continues to grow, and the love story gets deeper every time we do something new together.
Absolutely. I think the word unexpected is really the key element of it, because it's very much the basis of our peace bomb jewelry, you know, taking a negative and making it into something positive and constructive. And it all goes back to the artisans that we work with who decades ago, you know, started taking the bombs and making them into spoons. And I think that what we realized is the extent to which people see their own selves in that story of being able to transform a negative into a positive. And that's why so many people like to wear the jewelry and gift the jewelry, because it's a symbol that's personal, but yet it's a piece of history. And working together with other artists that have kind of like-minded missions has just been so enriching to the overall goal of spreading the message to the world, to know about this very specific history that people in Laos are still living through today. So it's all about kind of collaborating and cross-pollinating audiences.
I agree with you, Liz. I love how compassion is connecting us all. And I love that you use peace bombs as one of your lines or the basis of your line. I'd like to learn more about the different slogans that you all include, like "Do It Scared," "Music Unites the World," and "Trailblazers." How did your organization decide on which slogans to include?
I'll add one more to that, and that is there's a fourth bracelet, love plus creativity plus empathy. And the way that contributed was sort of how I described a few minutes ago. That is, we asked artists who we knew were making change in the world, how would they encapsulate the work that they do into one sentence that would fit on a bracelet. And we asked them to really try to think of things that they maybe not said all the time, but that really drew a picture of how they did their work and how they made their change in the world. Music Unites the World was Christian McBride, and his work speaks for himself. He and his wife have an organization that teaches kids jazz, and they're changing kids' lives through that organization. Melvis is Cuban born and is in the United States teaching young people and bringing people to collaboration through music. Bam Rodriguez, who is from Venezuela, literally started a school. And this is another story I love to tell. During the pandemic, he decided he wanted to bring music lessons to young people around the world who couldn't afford music lessons. And he reached out to a couple of his friends, thinking 3 or 4 would respond and offer music lessons to people. He got responses from, I believe the number was over 40 people who said that they were dying to do this. They were happy to do it. And now he has people teaching music for free all over the world to young people who can't afford music lessons. So I don't know how better to. Bam's slogan was "Do It Scared." Melvis's was love plus creativity plus empathy. I don't know how to better describe who these people are, what they do, and how the connection to the Artisan Activist Campaign at Article 22 was so natural.
You know what? They're trailblazers, and that's our word with legacy, because it's all about what each of us can do with our own talents to lead, to inspire, to make a difference in whatever way. Definitely, we need to hear about Trailblazer, Brendan.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that Trailblazer slogan was really, really inspired by our founder, Chanapa, who is a trailblazer in her own right, somebody who leads and somebody who's at the front, really making a change and being a positive energy in the world. At the same time, when we talk about trailblazers, we like to think of the demining teams working in Laos, many of which are either all female or female-led, working to be trailblazers in clearing land and just building a safer, gentler future for Laos, one piece at a time. And by wearing a trailblazer bracelet, like you're showing the world, that like you really want to be this positive energy like in the world, and that you're supporting these efforts as well. And it's a physical, like Elizabeth says, it's really a physical piece of like what has happened in Laos, something that's come from the land, and it's what these teams are working to clear as well, just to blaze a trail for the people who will come in the future.
Beautiful. This is all really inspiring work that you all are doing. I love how the jazz scene is coming together and it's reaching all the way to Laos. I had an opportunity to check out Jazz Lao Jazzanova, the band, and I'd like to know when many people think about jazz, they think of it as a unique American form of music. What drew you to look towards Laos for jazz artists, and how does that fit into America's legacy in Laos?
There are two things. One is the relationship between the National Jazz Museum in Harlem and Article 22. That is what drew us to Laos in the first place. The second was when we started looking for jazz in Laos, the first person we reached out to was our artistic director, Christian McBride, to ask if he knew anyone. And his response was essentially, I don't know if I know anyone in Laos, but I know that jazz is everywhere. So there's jazz in Laos. So you don't have to worry about that. We'll find somebody. And then our program director, Brian Maloney, just did his sleuthing. He did his detective work. And Christian was right. It wasn't a hard thing to do. You make connections the same way we've made connections to Article 22 and Legacies of War. You just put the question out there and the answer comes. And we could not be happier about this. This is one of, like, as I said when we started, this is just so exciting. And to show up in a place as unexpected as Laos and to make that an entry point that jazz uses to bring people together is just, it could not be more perfect.
I love that. What a great way to celebrate International Jazz Day. For all of our friends tuning in, what are some ways that folks can participate in all three of your organizations' collective efforts, and where can they learn more?
You can learn more about the National Jazz Museum in Harlem by going to our website, jmih.org. You can participate in the work we do by viewing our events, become part of our audience, and go to our events page again at jmih.org. We're a nonprofit organization. You can support us and support the work that we do and the collaborations that we do, once again, by going to our donate page on our website.
Awesome.
For Article 22, our website is article22.com. And as I mentioned earlier, the jewelry is really all about starting conversations. So if you have a piece that inspires you, you connect to a message like love, creativity, or empathy, or trailblazer, or music unites the world, or do it scared. You can hold a piece of that artist with you, their strength with you, and know that at the same time, your purchase is contributing to Legacies of War, to National Jazz Museum, in addition to supporting the work that Article 22 does in Laos with artisans who are transforming pieces of history into a piece of the future.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
In terms of Legacies of War, great place to start would be our website, legacesofwar.org. You can follow us on social media as well, Facebook or Instagram. We're out there as Legacies of War. Couple ways that you can get involved in what we're doing. We have a few initiatives as well, because in addition to the advocacy work that we do, we like to do community outreach, some heritage preservation, cultural preservation as well. So we like to do education. So two initiatives that we want to really invite you all to are our Tip Cow Talks, where we usually have community members on. We'll have a conversation with them just about their experiences, as well as issues that Laotian American community, as well as the broader Southeast Asian diaspora community in the United States face, as well as our Legacies Library, really focused on preserving stories, oral histories. We're often on Facebook Live. You can, if you follow our social media, you'll be able to see our schedule for that. On our website as well, one way that you can get involved is to donate, either by following our donation page, one-time donation, and just talking about the legacy of art and music. Something I want to invite all of you to join is our Lamvong Circle, which is our recurrent donation circle. Just for a little bit of context, Lamvong is a dance that takes place in Laos. It's a circle dance. You join, you sit down when you're tired, you invite your friends, and it's a fantastic time. It holds a special place in Laos and among many in the Southeast Asian diaspora community. So these are just a few ways to become involved.
Thank you so much, Brendan, for all of that. And thank you, Tracy and Elizabeth, for allowing me to be a part of this event with you all. I want to wish everyone a happy International Jazz Day. And khop chai lala.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Mayer, a member of the Board of Trustees at the National Jazz Museum in Harlem and chair of our 2021 Roots and Roots Gala Committee. We hope you enjoyed part 1 and 4 of our Roots and Roots Gala series, Jazz in Laos. Our next programme will take place on May 11th as we travel to Amsterdam to explore the past, present and future of the jazz scene in Holland. To learn more about upcoming Roots and Roots Gala series events or to become a Gala sponsor, please visit www.jmih.org/gala. To support programmes like the one you saw tonight, you can always text the word jazz to the number 41444 or visit www.jmih.org/donate. Thanks again and have a great night.